So hopefully by now, with the sermon we had this past Sunday, you're beginning to see where I drew some of what I preached on. Obviously, Scripture, baptism, but our teachings of baptism, which include these 5 promises. I tried to kind of weave them all in there somewhere. This one especially I think was probably the most overt. It's funny it's last. To strive for justice and peace in all of the earth. I question the first. This one, I found myself a lot of questions. I guess that's where we're going today. We had story day. We had me have preaching day. Now we're in question day. It's a good way to end the week, right? We're kind of questioning everything as we head into the weekend. What does God's justice look like compared to the justice we experience in this world? That's number one, right? Because we know they're not congruent necessarily. Sometimes they are, but most of the time they're probably not. What does God's justice look like? Because that's what we're shooting for. I mean, yes, we want to be good, upstanding citizens, but, well, if we follow God's law, then we'll be following actually our own laws, which should be fine. Anyway, that also implies there are laws that might not be just, that we need to work to get rid of. Okay, so that's questions number 1. Then ask anything with peace. What does God's peace look like? And actually, peace, I gotta ask, when do you feel peace? Wasn't as peaceful? We talked about this in adult forum a month, 2 ago. Time's blending together, but I liked. I think it was Kermit that said. He said Christmas morning was peaceful. I think about that. It's so quiet, and everyone, for the most part, is in. You have pastors and their families traveling usually, but but I can tell you there's like no traffic on the road. It's very quiet. I don't know. That answer kind of stuck with me. People talk about music; they feel peace. I don't know. I like to think those moments of peace that we have are kind of like that snapshot, that passing glimpse, that quick mountaintop moment of what God's peace will be like. You know, we strive for justice and peace because it's not readily available in our world, right? Not to everyone. Notice it's not just we strive for our justice and our peace, or just peace for ourselves. We strive for it for all of the world. As Dr. King was famously quoted, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It's basically what this promise is saying. I think of too, I know this was definitely last month. Oh, the band is escaping me. But we came up and singing for Christmas songs. The Don't They Know It's Christmas Time at All. This was before I was alive, you gotta remember. But listening to these lyrics again, this idea of people who are suffering around the world, they even know it's Christmas, that are hungry, that are starving. I think that replace Christmas with justice and peace. It's applicable to us. And in this country, there are people that have experienced injustice, that are not at peace. There's work to be done there to fix those. And then even more so, the world, it's amplified. It's more complicated, so maybe step 1, start here locally. Our Living Waters Against Racism team is looking into bills that we think would help reform our justice system. That would be less racist. And there are plenty of bills out there, actually, that are co-sponsored by bipartisans, both parties. They just have, are stuck in bureaucracy because no one's pushing for them. Maybe it's time. And there's even common sense reforms that we just haven't gotten around to yet. Yet there are certain other things our government can pass just like that. The moment they weren't about to get paid, boy, that bill passed quickly, didn't it? We need to hold our leaders accountable. And 2, I think at a congregational level, there's ways that we can promote justice. I talked about how I feared when we were talking about the good discussions we were having in our county, among congregations, in our congregation, about racial equality, equality for all people, really. I worry that would be a summer fad. We can't let that happen. I don't think we have, but we have to be vigilant. Trust me. Um, it may not always be a popular subject, because some people are like, oh, let's. Not going to be clamoring to talk about that all the time, but we promised we would. We promised we'd strive for justice and peace in all of the earth, in fact. So what does it look like to strive for justice in your life? What does it look like to strive for peace? Really, you could take, this one's more complicated. You could break this into 2 promises and take one today and one tomorrow. And then Sunday, be ready for a whole another week. Look at Pastor giving out homework, right? But it's not just homework. It's a lifestyle. These are promises. These are our vows, right? When you get married, right, and you make promises, there's tangible things you promise there too, right? To care for each other and in sickness and in health, the richer or poorer, right? This faithfulness, right? This is the same here of our baptismal promises. We promise to strive for justice and peace in all the earth. We promise that. So now we got to live that way. And so, I know it's been a heavy week. It's been a heavy year so far in 2021. But this is necessary work. If we look in Scripture constantly, when big change happened, that God brought about good things, some of the bad things had to be taken away first. There had to be some kind of struggle first before goodness could have the day. We will do this in our own lives, together as a congregation, and beyond as the church. We can live out, by living out these promises, we can make the world a better place. In fact, God promises that we will. I'll see you someday.